Welcome to Sketchaday. I'm Spencer, and today we're going to have a little chat about sketching. But first of all, I want you to hit that subscribe button, turn on alerts, and be sure to come find me on Instagram. I am at sketchaday.com, and if you go to sketchaday.com, the website /newsletter, you can actually sign up for my newsletter where you'll get this free super sketch tip guide, which is essentially a collection of knowledge that I've put together from my experience as being an industrial designer. So you'll want to check that out for that free downloadable. So today we're going to talk a little bit about sketching, and this really all kicked off with an Instagram post that I made saying essentially that Instagram has undermined the process in showing what a sketch is. It's really easy to produce content when the platform facilitates that, and so I feel like there's kind of a gap in understanding of what the purpose of a sketch is as a designer and what reality is. We found that social media has a tendency to distort our perceptions of reality, and I think design is no exception. We are certainly influenced by the technologies and platforms we use. So to kick things off, let's talk about what a sketch is. To me, a sketch is a raw expression of the kernel of an idea. It's not always finished, it's not always perfect, and not always refined, but certainly for me, I try to put some thought behind that sketch. I wanted to capture that glimmer of an idea so that I can essentially plant that seed and continue to work on and generate that idea into something more. Ideas tend to be very fleeting, so a sketch for me is just a quick way to capture the essence of what I'm trying to accomplish and represent that on paper or digitally on something like my iPad Pro. Sketches don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be flawless. They really just need to capture our intent and express that in a way that's valuable to us or to the person we're presenting. And understanding our audience and context is going to help us decide when and where and how much finish to apply to a sketch. But it's also important to understand that there is a process to all this, and there is a purpose to the process and the level to which we finish our sketches. Now, as a designer, a sketch is one of the most powerful and versatile tools that I have to encapsulate an idea. And so I want to just talk a little bit about my tool set, types of sketches I've encountered, and perhaps a little bit about what the future of sketching might be. The first sketch I want to talk about is the personal communication sketch. Now, a personal communication sketch, as the name implies, means that you're really just communicating with yourself. I tend to use these in my design process when I'm trying to hash out or figure out an idea, and I'm less concerned about the quality of the presentation and the clarity of the presentation of that sketch, and more so about the thinking or thought that goes into those lines and the representation of the problem that I'm trying to solve. These tend to be a lot looser, a lot less defined, and certainly more gestural than other sketches that you might put together as part of your presentation. The next sketch I want to talk about, or type of sketch, for an industrial designer is the ideation sketch. And the ideation sketch really, as the name implies, is all about generating those ideas. These tend to be more iterative in nature and procedural, meaning each sketch builds on the other sketch or builds on the theme that you've started with your products. So take, for example, a sketch page. You may find that several concepts on the page, form-wise or conceptually, relate to each other. And essentially, you're outlining your thought and putting that on paper in a way that someone looking at this sketch page could understand your concept and where it came from and what the purpose of that exercise was. So that someone looking at your sketch page can understand your thought process, and it's really encapsulated in this iterative exercise of putting sketches on the page. These can have color, they can have texture, and certainly a bit more clarity than your personal communication sketch, but the point is to show this generative idea process. Now, sketching isn't limited to pen and paper. Sometimes we can use CAD, computer-aided design, to create underlays for our sketches, but it's also important to make sure that we embrace the organic, free-flowing means of producing those ideas by drawing them on paper or on our digital medium of our preference. So now that leads us to the functional or technical sketch. And much like the name implies, the functional or technical sketch serves to show how something works. As an industrial designer or a designer in general, it's more than our job to create aesthetically pleasing products and experiences, but rather show how those things work and why they deserve to exist in the real world. And to do that, we need to be able to show functional and technical sketches that show how our concept might work. Now, this could be anything from a cutaway view to an exploded view to something that shows motion or articulation. It could even be the sketch of a process, but the idea is to focus more on how the thing works and less on the iterative nature of the design process in showing variations on that page. So now we get to the juicy stuff, the presentation sketches. And I would argue that most of what you see on social media and a lot of what I do tends to be in the realm of a presentation sketch. Now, a presentation sketch isn't a full rendering. It's a sketch, meaning a loosely generated idea that may have some color, some texture, and some effects added to it. Nowadays, because we have tablets, we have computers, and the processes of generating ideas is so much easier, these tend to be digital. They tend to have a certain polish and feel to them. One thing I have learned in my career, however, is that the higher fidelity to which you present a concept, the more likely it's going to be received as a final idea. So you'll want to pay attention to your audience, who you're presenting to, and the context in which you're presenting to make sure that the right level of finish is communicated in your sketch process. And this is where I think we run into some problems online where we don't see the underlying process and it creates a false sense of what exactly a sketch is. Last but not least, we have the emotive sketch. And the emotive sketch is really just about flash. It's about a big opening note to a presentation or project, something that really just gets people engaged and emotionally bought into your concept presentation. An emotional sketch alone is not enough to convey the concept, but it's enough to pull someone in. And if you can pull in your audience, you can get some buy-in, and that'll help your credibility. But in reality, all of these sketches work together at different parts of the process. Much like an orchestra utilizes different instruments, we can use different sketches in our design process to help create a comprehensive presentation that tells an entire story, that opens on a strong note with an emotive sketch, or explains the concept generation with ideation, or the function of the product with or functional and technical sketches. So understanding the purpose of these sketches is important, and understanding how they come to be is also important. And that's why I do what I do here on Sketch-A-Day, is to close that gap in understanding between how you start from scratch to create something that's polished and finished, why, when, and how you use these tools. So you'll want to look out for more content from me along these lines. And I'm resolving to show more of my process because I love what I do. I want to demystify the process and make design more accessible for everyone out there. And if we merely show the polished stuff without showing the process or even rough sketches and understanding when and how to use those, I do think it creates a false perception of reality and what design really is. Design is more than making beautiful sketches, and it's certainly more than making beautiful things. Those are just a few types of sketches I've used in the past to help me communicate ideas with myself, but also to my clients. And the future is really interesting. We have artificial intelligence, machine learning tools that are actually being built into digital products today. And the future is bright. We have things like virtual reality and computer-aided design that can help us frame our concepts quickly. But I do believe that sketching will always have a place in the designer's toolkit and in the designer's process. Sketching has been around for thousands of years, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So with that, let's get sketching. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on alerts. There'll be more talks like this about design, the design process, and demystifying a bit of the mystery around what it is we do as designers and illustrators. We'll see you next time right here on Sketch-A-Day.